Okay. Now see, this is how much I really don't want to talk about this thing, because it's a rare time when I have something on my mind and I really want to share my opinion about something, and I just have these heaving sighs and just these long gaps of silence where I want to get into it, but then again I just really don't, because it's just the same old nonsense and the same old BS, and it's always on the same old stupid ass topics. And especially this time, because I swore off the last time that I'm just done trying to talk to my people. Our ignorance just exceeds the understanding of the cosmos. I don't know how it is, why. Well, okay, there is a group of people worse off than us. We call them North Koreans. So we haven't exactly taken the crown on that one. So maybe there's still some hope left for us now. I don't know. But anyway, let me stop rambling and just going around in circles, because I want to make this one really short and really quick, because something came to mind when I was listening to all these different emotional reviews about the movie Django Unchained. And yes, it's Django, not the Django. Okay, I mean, that's just like chalk scratching in my ears, just a Okay, sorry for that brief interruption. I had a little something going on the home front here, which kind of distracted everything, and in a way, I guess, I don't know. Sheesh. Like I said, I really don't want to do this, but to get back on point, so I can get over and done with this thing, because I want to try to keep it under 5 minutes, if that's even possible with the way my mouth runs. But again, as it relates to this whole thing about Django Unchained, I knew almost nothing about this movie except its title before all the controversy started coming out around it. And of course, the more the controversy came out and the more issues that people kept having with it, I noticed yet again, just like we did with Red Tails, a whole bunch of people making a whole bunch of assumptions about a whole bunch of things that the movie supposedly said or didn't say, or insinuated or didn't insinuate, or whatever the heck it was, and not dang stinking single person even bothered to see the movie for themselves. I mean, this Django Unchained thing is so outlandishly unreal now that I'm even beginning to doubt if anybody's even bothered to see the actual theatrical trailers for the movie, seeing all the spew that people are throwing out about it, and all the criticism that they're having against it, and of course, if it's anything of black interest that stirs controversy like this, I'm going to be the first one in line to want to find out what it's about, to see if anybody's on any sort of a real kick, or if they're just operating on pure D emotions all over again. And from what I can observe, it's just more emotionalism. But that's not what I want to talk about. Just let it be said for the record that yes, I am going to see the movie. Thank y'all very much, because you sparked my interest and my curiosity, and from what I can tell, it looks like it might be a pretty damn good movie, but that remains to be seen. But had it not been for y'all loudmouths and your whiny crybabies, I would have just let it pass under the radar screen, just like I do with so many other movies. So give yourselves a pat on the back for that one. But again, that's not my issue, because this really is not about the movie per se, but it's about some of the attitudes that the movie has spawned from certain people amongst our collective, if you will. And it's simply this. This whole attitude about how these different movies that portray our history, and I don't know, what do you want? First of all, really, what do you want? I mean, I didn't hear this kind of criticism coming from that Wild Wild West movie with Will Smith being the lead role in that. I didn't hear anybody hollering and complaining and hooting and hollering, talking about how it was an unrealistic portrayal of the ancient West, and black men really didn't have that. And so I don't know, maybe it was because I don't know. Maybe because I don't know. I just I don't know. Maybe because the Will Smith character was just this holier than thou, pristine, pure, all around nice guy in the movie, Whereas, of course, you look at Red Tails, these are guys who, granted, it was a positive story about them, but they were regular guys who had problems and who had issues and who had circumstances in life which didn't make them always the most glowing, shining example of. So I'm assuming that's probably what this Django Unchained thing is all about, too. Oh, it's a movie about a slave. Yeah, we were slaves. Hello? That's part of our history, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. But the fact that it's a movie about a slave or a freed slave or a rescued slave or whatever the heck it is, that seems to be superseded by everybody's attitude about whatever's tripping them off about this thing about a slave being released from bondage, and you think that would be a good thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't slavery supposed to be a bad thing? That anything that we would see that would actually release a slave from bondage, wasn't that what All Roots was about? The whole struggle and everything that we came through out of slavery, and how that was such a rewarding and you came to this what do they call that? I don't mean say lethargy. That's not the word I'm looking for. I don't know. I can't. My brain's frozen right now. And so again, like I said, I don't know what the issue is or why the issue is, but again, the movie, the theme of the movie, the plot of the movie, all that stuff right now is really irrelevant. That has nothing to do with what this commentary is about. I know, big surprise, huh? I spent 7 minutes going on and ranting about the movie and people's opinions about the movie, and the commentary is not about the movie. Yeah. But seriously though, in listening to some of these reviews that people had, a common theme seems to be coming to the fore as far as a lot of people's opinions about this movie that nobody's seen. Let's keep reiterating that. And the common consensus seems to be how much of a disrespect to our ancestors that this is, that this dishonors our ancestors in some kind of a way, that this is a shameful thing that we're doing that destroys their honor and their dignity. And I just had a meltdown. And I said, you know what? I am getting sick and tired of hearing all this stuff about how great and noble and honorable our ancestors were. You know why? Because they were weak, spineless, pussy cowards. That's why. Yeah, I said it. Now you think about it for a moment. Slavery would have never, ever have happened in this country, at least not with the African experience, had it not been for the fact that our ancestors, our great, noble, never can do no wrong, long-suffering ancestors, had maybe said from the very beginning, we aren't going to submit to this white man. You know what? There are more of us than there are of them right here on these boats. They unchain us every once in a while to give us a little bit of exercise and to give us some little bit of sunlight to try to keep us healthy before we die and have to be thrown over. But I'm like, look, chained, unchained, whatever. There are more of us than there are of them. If all we ever did was just resist at each and every opportunity, at each and every stage of the game, slavery would have never happened in this country. You know why? Because at some point, if they realized that every time they try to put a black man or a black woman in bondage, that he was going to try to gouge a white cracker's eyes out, do you know at some point very quickly that these white savages would have come to the realization that these damn people ain't human, they're animals. We can't control these. What makes us think we can control them? They're nothing but a wild bunch of savage heathens. You know, the moment we try to tame one of them, they're out there trying to rip our nuts out of our sack. Leave these things alone. Let's go try to find something else that's probably a little bit more malleable. But these damn Africans, let's leave these things alone. Because even though they are a defeated people, because let's remember, our ancestors just happened to be on the losing side of a battle with another one of their African neighbors, and as prisoners of war got sold into slavery. That's the real story of slavery. Wasn't no nets, wasn't no tranquilizer darts, even if they had them at the time, but you get my point. Nobody hunted down Negroes out of the bush field or anything else and then just carted them against their will onto a slave ship. No, that didn't happen. But even though that didn't happen, there was still the potential to resist. You remember that Star Trek movie? I believe it was number 6, where the Klingons were pretty much at the mercy of the Federation now, because they were a dying race of people now. And instead of negotiating a peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, there were those more noble Klingons who wanted to retain their culture, who wanted to retain their identity, who believed in their way of life, who made who proposed the idea that it's better to die on our feet than to live on our knees. Now, had Africans taken that attitude, sure, a whole lot of African bodies would have been piled up dead, but you know what? A whole hell of a lot more of them would have been saved from the bonds of slavery, because enough had gone in before them to set the stage, to set the standard, to make these white devils realize that, look, there's no controlling these Africans. Let's leave them alone. I don't know, let's see if we can manipulate the South American Indians, and maybe we can do it with them. I don't know. But these Africans, they're savage, brutal monsters. They will sooner die before they submit. So let's leave them alone. But see, that's not what we did, is it? No. We just kowtowed. We got on our hands and knees and we prayed to the Lord, oh please deliver me, and those that wait upon the Lord, and they shall be deliverance, and all. Yeah, we had to wait for 400 damn years. See my point? As opposed to, remember how Malcolm X said it? By any means necessary. And you saw how quickly it had to remove him out of the equation, right? Because he was actually starting to motivate people and getting people angry enough to where they actually started, hey, the Black Panthers, you remember those guys, right? What was their claim to fame? You don't come into our neighborhoods and run roughshod over here without some accountability. So we're going to start toting around rifles and we're going to defend our own. Oops, suddenly nobody wanted to mess with the Black Panthers. Gee, I wonder why. See, that's the attitude our ancestors, our great noble ancestors, should have taken. So all this stuff about anything that dishonors our ancestors, well shit, if you really want to talk about dishonoring our ancestors, all you got to do is turn on World Star Hip Hop and there you go. I need to say no more other than that if you want to talk about really dishonoring our ancestors. But if you want to keep glorifying these people and putting them up on this high pedestal, making it seem like, oh, they were just this prime example of human nobility and strength and courage under character and under fire and all this other mess, bull, you know what. Because I don't buy into that. Now, granted, I look back at the history and I look back at the legacy, and I'm thankful that they went through that. Not to say that it was a good thing, but I'm thankful that as a result of that, I got to enjoy part of this legacy that they helped build. And so I'm doing more to honor them by not going after all the coonery, buffoonery stuff and making excuses about this, that, or the other because it supposedly somehow besmears their great noble sacrifice or some mess of this sort. So get that. I'm appreciative of that history. Not for what it was, but for what the end result was. And most of you Negroes don't understand it and don't appreciate it. So you'd rather send us right back to that same type of a condition as opposed to moving forward and trying to take this shit over. And that's where we screw up, and that's how we don't honor our ancestors. But if you want to get some emotional trip about how a movie dishonors our ancestors because it dares to reflect on the fact that, hey, we were once slaves, and hey, here's a fantasy story about a freed slave that goes around killing a bunch of white people, and that dishonors our ancestors? No. What dishonors our ancestors is the fact that they didn't fight back. That they allowed themselves to go under that sort of brutal oppression. Again, like I said, looking back at it in retrospect, 2020 vision, you know, hindsight and all that, I'm thankful that they went through it. Not for what it was, but for what the end result was. But make no mistake though, if there was anything at all to honor about them, it would have been because of the fact that they stood up against an evil, wicked, corrupt system and eventually prevailed because they didn't get to be subjected as the original plan had intended. That's my rant, and on that, I'm done with talking about anything else regarding to or relating to our people. Let y'all hammer that out on your own. I'm off to other and better things. End of line.